Hello, everyone. Welcome in. I'm happy to have you. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell. That way, you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Now, how's everybody's winter going so far? Here on the East Coast, we are expecting a winter storm coming through, but I have my good, faithful tea here already, staying warm and cozy. So, speaking of that, how do you guys feel about the wintertime? Do you sometimes get like seasonal depression or, cabin fever, things like that? You kind of get like the winter blues or like occasional um seasonal depression from it being so cold and not being able to get outside as much as you'd like. I know for me um it's kinda like a nice little break for a couple months where you kinda just get to, like, stay inside and kinda just stay warm with some tea and watch some Netflix or read a good book, and, of course, watch true crime. Today, we are talking about the Eli Weaver case, which he has duped himself the Amish Stud by his social media handle. Now, when people think about the Amish community, they picture quiet lives, faith, family, and strict rules meant to protect that way of living. What they don't expect is betrayal, manipulation, and murder. This is the story of Eli Weaver, a man who lived one life in public and a very different one in secret. Now, as far as what we know about Eli, he was raised in rural Ohio as part of the Andy Weaver Amish, a conservative subgroup of old order Amish. Technology was forbidden, cell phones, cars, social media, all off limits. He married Barbara Weaver in 1999. Together, they had five children. They had three boys and two girls. From the outside, their life looked exactly the way people imagine Amish families to be: hardworking, close knit, and devout Christians. Barbara stayed home, raised the children, and cared for her household. Eli ran a sporting goods store next door, selling hunting and fishing equipment, including firearms. But behind the rules, behind the image, Eli was hiding something. Hmm, what could he be hiding? Against every rule of his faith, Eli acquired a secret cell phone. On it, he created social media accounts, and under their username, Amish Stud, of all things, which is pretty catchy if you think about it. But he began meeting women online, which is not a good thing because he's married. This wasn't a one time mistake. He had numerous affairs, some brief, some ongoing. Barbara knew, and despite the betrayal, she stayed. In the Amish world, divorce doesn't end in marriage. It can mean being shunned and losing your entire community. Barbara stayed for her children, for her faith, for the life she believed in. Eli, however, wanted out without consequences. He wanted to take the easy way route, right? Once again, just get a divorce. We all say this all the time, but I understand their faith did not allow that, didn't approve it. Um, and it just wasn't part of their culture. That's when Barbara Raber entered the picture. She had been raised Amish, but later left the community. She and her husband joined a Mennonite church, which allowed more freedom. Even after leaving, she remained closely connected to the Amish, working as a taxi driver, someone who transported Amish families to places they couldn't reach by horse and buggy. Eli was a frequent customer. What began as rides turned into conversations. Those conversations crossed boundaries, and soon they were having an affair. But this relationship didn't stay emotional for long. According to investigators, Eli began telling Robert that there was no future for them as long as Barbara was alive. Divorce would mean losing his standing, his business, his place in the community. So instead of leaving, Eli and Robert started discussing ways to kill Barbara. They talked about poisoning her, using carbon monoxide, and even destroying the house. These conversations happened through text messages on Eli's secret phone. This was planning. In the early hours of June 2nd, 2009, Eli left his home for a fishing trip to Lake Erie. He kissed Barbara goodbye. He left their five children behind, and he purposely left the door unlocked. Barbara Raber drove to the Weaver home, parked nearby, and entered the house carrying her husband's shotgun. Minutes later, Barbara Weaver was shot and killed in her bed. Talking about how low down someone could be to go into someone else's house, especially to go into your lover's home while his wife is in the bed and their children are at home, and shoot and kill her in her bed with the children there. One of her children found her and ran to a neighbor's house for help. They just planned this and did this with no thought whatsoever of the children, and them having to find their mom in that condition is horrible. Just makes me so angry. Like, what made this murder even more unsettling was how rare it was. There is a book called A Killing in Amish Country: Sex, Betrayal, and a Cold-Blooded Murder by Rebecca Morris, which explained that violence like this is almost unheard of in the Amish communities. She said this murder didn't just devastate one family, it shook the entire Amish world. In more than 250 years of Amish history in America, only 3 murders by spouses have ever been recorded. And in 2 of those cases, men killed their wives. That's how rare this was. And that rarity is exactly why this case left such a deep scar. Now, police immediately noticed that something wasn't right. There was no forced entry, no robbery, cash left in the home. This wasn't random. When Eli returned from his fishing trip, he appeared distraught and denied any involvement. But Barbara's sister came forward. And good for her. I'm glad that she stood up for her sister and came forward, telling police about Eli's affairs. That changed everything. Investigators uncovered Eli's secret phone, his text messages between Eli and Raber, conversations detailing how to commit the murder and how to delete evidence. Raber's fingerprints were found inside the home. The walls closed in quickly. Now, Raber did admit that she went to the house with the gun, but claims she only intended to scare Barbara and that the gun fired accidentally. Yeah, okay. I think she could have scared her another way besides breaking into her home. Well, he left the door unlocked and going into her home while she is sleeping with her children at home and shooting her. I think she could have met her probably at her front door and tried to explain to her what was going on. So we ain't buying that at all. A jury didn't believe her, thank goodness. And facing trial, Eli made a choice. He accepted a plea deal, pleading guilty to complicity to commit murder in exchange for testifying against the woman he once planned a future with. Now, how much lower can he go? I mean, he's already low down as it is to even do what he did. But to then go in and testify against the woman he planned a future with, I mean, did he not think this through? Apparently not. I mean, why now run for the hills, per se? At trial, Eli attempted to minimize his role and placed the blame on Raber. After a 3-day trial, Barbara Raber was convicted of aggravated murder, sentenced to 23 years to life in prison. Eli Weaver was sentenced to 15 years to life. Barbara Raber remains incarcerated at the Ohio Reformatory for Women. She will be eligible for parole in April of 2032. Eli Weaver, however, is currently incarcerated at Grafton Correctional Institution in Ohio, although he became eligible for parole in 2024. He was not released, but he's only doing 15 years. His next parole hearing is scheduled for April 1st of 2032. This wasn't a crime of passion. It wasn't a crime of entitlement. 2 adults decided that a woman's life, a mother's life, was negotiable. Barbara Weaver didn't die because she was cruel or violent or dangerous. She died because someone wanted to erase her place in the story. And that's what makes this case so disturbing. I am going to link below the book that was written, The Killing in Amish County by Rebecca Morris. I will attach the Amazon affiliate link below. I would like to know what your thoughts are on this case. And until next time, I'm your host, Lisa. Stay safe, stay aware, and take care.